What is it about a woman that can just so easily turn a man's head? Hi, this is Barry Phillips, a 10-minute Torah, day 2 of Pinchas. And let's slide down in chapter 25 of Numbers, or Bamidbar, to verse 14 and 15, which says, "And the name of the man of Israel who was struck with the Midianite woman, was Zimri, son of Salu, a leader of a father's house among the Shimeonites. And the name of the Midianite woman who was struck, and it can be pronounced Cosby or Casby, the daughter of Shur. He was a head of the people of a father's house in Midian." This is not a situation of star-crossed lovers. This is not a Cinderella story. This is not some kind of fairy tale romance of any sort. This is just plain, blatant seduction. And Zimri fell for it. And he, along with thousands of his comrades, compatriots, they all perished. When the Torah includes names for us, of characters especially that would otherwise just be nameless, it was just a Midianite woman, it identifies her, it identifies her father, it identifies her station in her community or among her people. Her name is spelled with a kaf, which looks like an open hand, a zayin, which represents a weapon, a beit, which means a house, and it ends with a yod. And the yod is an interesting letter. It can mean work or deed. It can suggest a hand. It looks like a hand. So if it suggests a work or a deed, you have to determine what work or what deed are we talking about, and it's in the context of what's it's connected to. If we consider the letter meanings put together, and again, whenever you do this, it's not doctrinal. You can't declare a doctrine out of it. It's simply an interesting way of looking at Hebrew words or names in this case, and seeing if there is something that might be there. Sometimes there is, and sometimes there's not. In this case, it's the open hand for a weapon. Maybe we should say against. You could say against the house of, or the house's deeds. It's the house's works. It does mention here that her Zimri is a leader of a father's house among the Shimeonites, and Casby's father was the head of a people of a father's house in Midian. So the idea of house here is significant. Whatever the deed of the Shimeonites would have been, Shimeon means to hear. She was perhaps then being used as a weapon against the house that should be hearing, should be discerning, clouding one's judgment, distorting, distracting, turning the head. I've mentioned this before in other teachings. I've certainly mentioned this at House of David. Westernized culture, especially, and very much so here in the U.S., has taught our women to dress for a second look. Looking back in yesteryear, I just think the time period of the 1950s and the 1960s that women dressed for public appearance much more stylish and appropriate. And I know we're not going back to that era. I know we've lost that, but the idea of skirts and dresses and hats and gloves, I just think that's stylish. And yes, I'm old. I get that. But the approach of presentation was classy. And it was not necessary to be seductive, although I'm sure that was a part of it then as well. But a woman wasn't necessarily going out looking to turn every man's head. Nowadays, I mean, what do I say? It's either a presentation of public pajamas at Walmart, which I do not understand, or very blatant idea of look at me 2, 3, 10 times. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Don't give women the second look. You can't help if something passes before your eyes. That's number one. The second look is on you, guys. It belongs to you. That's just something to keep in mind. So obviously, Zimri had more than a second look, and he became evidently enthralled with this woman. It says here that her father's house, or her father's name was Sur, which means rock. A stone or a rock. A rock is a type and shadow of Messiah. And I'm just putting some ideas here together to draw a potential plausible narrative. Again, I'm not declaring a doctrine here. But what I am seeing, symbolically suggested here, is that Casby is the proclaimer of, the promoter of a rock, her father, his ideology, his house, the ways of his house, the doctrine of his house, another rock, another Messiah. And this particular Messiah, perhaps, that she is promoting is a new and perhaps exciting Messiah, because this Messiah appeals to the everyday man who may not be well versed and learned in all of the scriptural things and scriptural or spiritual insights. He's the natural man, the everyday guy. He's a Messiah that would just hang out and chill with you and play cornhole and go fishing and hunting and that kind of thing. And he understands your stuff, and he will excuse it. He's like, wink, wink, nod, nod. Hey, boys will be boys, men will be men. Hey, guy, you can't help it. She's good looking. I don't blame you. That kind of mindset. It's a different Messiah. It is a compromising Messiah who encourages rather than reproves and requires set apartness. So this woman, Casby, can, as she is promoting this different Messiah, she is forbidden to Zimri. Rashi says, Zimri looked at Moshe and said, is she permitted to me? She's a Midianite. By the way, Moshe, you married Zipporah. She's also a Midianite. So if Zipporah is permitted to you, she's permitted to me. But there's a difference between the two. You see, Zipporah was from Midian, a Midianite woman, but she came out and she became a part of Israel. And it reminds me of Revelation 18:4 that says, come out of her, my people, lest you share in her plagues. Casby is the harlot system that has religious orders and religious dressings and religious identities, and it promotes a Messiah, but it's not willing to change. No repentance is required. Indulgences are acceptable, understood, and explained away. And you just need to do further study and pray a little more. Come back next week and we'll try again. One ends up being judged. The other comes out and is accepted. You may be a Midianite. You may not be born in the covenant, but the choice still belongs to you. Will you be the bride or the harlot. And I'll see you again tomorrow, hopefully. Until then, shalom.